I've had my YouTube channel for a while, and a lot of people think I'm a gun channel. I'm actually not really a gun channel. It just so happens I don't have a lot to talk about other than guns that's even the slight bit interesting. And quite often people ask me questions about things that aren't really directly gun related, but they're big topics in the gun community at that time. And tonight I want to take a moment to talk about one of those topics. Now this topic is the Confederate flag, and what I think about whether it should be flown on state grounds or not. Now, I know a lot of people right now are really upset about the Confederate flag and what it represents. And people ask me, what do I think of the Confederate flag? Well, to me, the Confederate flag is a very, very important American symbol. It stands for a very important part of our history as a people. It stands for something that had a great deal of influence on shaping this country that we now know. And that thing that I'm talking about is, of course, the Dukes of Hazzard. Now, I love the Dukes of Hazzard. Always have, probably always will. But it's recently come to my attention that a lot of black Americans don't really like the Dukes of Hazzard. In fact, they seem to be downright pissed about it. I don't know why. Maybe it's because there were no real black characters that were regular on the show. And it was in the South, and it's all white people. So maybe that's why they don't like it. But I'm actually just kidding here. I know the Confederate flag doesn't stand for the Dukes of Hazzard. That's just kind of what it meant to me growing up. That's about as much thought as I ever gave to it as a younger person. But I understand why black people don't like the Confederate flag. I lived in Alabama for many years, had lots of black friends. I can honestly say I've never seen a black person fly the Confederate flag, and every black person I knew, so I would say easily 9 out of 10 of people that I knew that were black, if not 10 out of 10, found it offensive. So I understand that black people find it offensive, and I understand why they find it offensive. It stands to them for a period of our history that's very racist. It stands for a lot of racist ideas that still exist today. It's just a very negative thing for them as a people. So like I said, does the Confederate battle flag really offend me? No, it doesn't. But here's the kicker. I know a lot of you might be surprised by this, well, unless you've ever seen me dance, seen me play basketball, or seen me naked, but I'm not black. And I know people are going to be like, oh, those are stereotypes. Well, those are good stereotypes. Nobody cares about that. If you want to accuse me of having rhythm and being athletic and having a large penis, go right ahead. I don't care if you start those rumors. But like I said, I'm not black, so I don't get to make a statement on whether they're offended as a race by this symbol, because I very easily see that they are offended, so the very fact that they are offended by it pretty much unanimously is enough. Especially when that symbol doesn't really have any reason to be kept around. I can't see any positive reasons to keep it around, keep it flying constantly. I mean, it's great that it's in the history books and it's great that it's in history lessons, but as far as just keeping it flying in people's faces, I don't see a reason for it. I especially find it funny that most people that were very fond of that flag in Alabama when I lived there, when I would ask them, well, when was the Civil War? They wouldn't know. They didn't really have that much interest in the Civil War that they even knew when it happened. So why are they so tied to this flag? And it's even funnier to me when some kid that's lived in North Dakota his whole life is so fond of the Confederate flag. What possible ties do you have to it? What meaning does it have for your life? And let's face it, whether you like it or not, and no matter what its relevance to American history is, the flag itself, the Confederate battle flag, has been adopted as a symbol of hatred and racism by organizations like the Ku Klux Klan and other hateful organizations for a long time now. That's pretty much all it stands for in a lot of people's mind. It's not just the Confederate battle flag this has happened to. Look at the swastika. It was a perfectly benign religious symbol that meant good fortune. And it meant that for many cultures, for many, many hundreds of years, and then those pesky little Nazis kind of corrupted the whole thing. So even though you can say, oh, this symbol's been around for hundreds of years before the Nazis used it, it's a good symbol. If you tattoo it on your forehead, the first thing I'm going to think isn't that you are a Hindu, it's that you are a racist. And you can't really be offended by that. Flying the Confederate flag doesn't make you a racist. Tattooing a swastika on your forehead doesn't make you a racist. But it does give the impression that you just might be one. And if people think you are one, you got to accept that. And I think it's your personal right to be racist if you want to be racist, or at least give the impression that you're racist no matter what the reason. If you want to hang it personally, if you want to put it on your car, if you want to get a tattoo, whatever you want to do of the Confederate flag, it should be your right to do so. You should be able to hang it proudly in your yard. But if people come up to you and go, dude, what's your deal? Are you a racist? Don't be offended that they ask that question. I mean, if I go to the grocery store in pink tights and a tutu, that doesn't mean I'm a ballerina. But if someone comes up to me while I'm there and says, hey, dude, what's the deal? Are you a ballerina? I shouldn't become all indignant and start ranting and raving and like, well, how dare you? I've never been so offended. How dare you play the ballerina card? Because I kind of invited the question. But it's still my right to wear a pink tutu to the grocery store if I want to, just like it should be your right to fly the Confederate flag proudly if you want to, regardless of your reasons, even if you are a racist. But it's different if you're a government entity. You're not just representing your opinion. You're supposed to be representing all your constituents. And most of your constituents don't agree with that flag. So stop flying it. Now, I will kind of preface my opinion about it not being flown on state grounds with this. I do think that maybe once a year for a certain period of time it should be flown on all state capitol grounds. Mainly as a reminder of this is what can happen in our country when we become so divided. When we allow ideology and partisan politics, etc. to divide us, this is the kind of thing that can happen. So let's not forget this in our past. Let's not forget this part of our history. Let's remember it. Let's look at it the right way. That way I don't think people would see it as a symbol of racism. They would see it as a symbol of unity. And that way I think it would be a good thing. That being said, if I was out tomorrow shopping for a Dodge Charger or a Dodge Challenger, and I went to the lot and there were two cars sitting there side by side, a white one and an orange one with the decals and the Confederate flag on the top and a horn that played Dixie, you can bet which one I'm going home with. I'm going home with the Dukes of Hazzard car, my own little General Lee. I might even get myself a flannel shirt and a pair of blue jeans that are 3 sizes too small, maybe even a bow and arrow to go with it, just so that I could be authentic. But I'm not going to be offended if some people go up to me and say, hey dude, what's the deal with your car? Are you a racist? I'm going to say, no, I'm not a racist. I'm just immature.